by the way when these other guys can get it going. But the DH rule, we got some slides we're going to put up tonight. Read those and I'd familiarize yourself with the DH rule because we do have some teams beginning to start using it. I think they finally figured it out. I know Anthony Maynard the other night when Butler, I think it was Butler, played at Richmond, they were using it. So we've got to make sure we're up on that rule and know the ins and outs of it. Because like I said, coaches have figured it out and they're going to start trying to put it into being. Secondly, and I'm going to jump down to the bottom a little bit, I put the master schedule out today where you look at it. Guys, right now, I don't have enough umpires to cover baseball. Now, Earl and I have talked, and I know there's over 100 registered for softball, and he can't use them all. A lot of those guys used to do baseball. I gave you the master schedule to help out a little bit. That's not self-assigned. It's not taking my job away from me assigning. I'm still assigning. I still have the discretion whether to put you in what game to put you on. But I need some help, guys. I really do. And Earl and I have talked about it. He's going to talk to some of you about jumping back over to the baseball side. And you can do dual sports. You can do softball and baseball. You can actually do like John does. John does multiple sports besides the two. And he bounces out and things work out. So it can be done. But right now, I had to cancel 3 games on Friday. Tomorrow, we're looking at canceling about 10 because we just don't have enough. Now, the weather's coming in Tuesday and Wednesday, and I've got guys' varsity games being moved to Monday, being played tomorrow. So the weather's going to be a factor Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday this week more than likely. So a lot of games are going to be moved around. And I know some of you, I can see your schedules. You have softball and other things, but please, guys, recreation ball does not take precedence over our ball. And if you want to get out of a game, and Earl and I talked about this Friday morning, all you have to do is send him a text, and he'll let you out of softball. Like I said, he's got a bunch of people that can cover softball. And I know the money's $3 difference and the time difference. You can go out there for an hour and a half, 2 hours compared to baseball. So I need help, guys. Right now, I'm calling other associations trying to get them in. Of course, they're strapped too, trying to get umpires. So we've got enough. We can cover what we got, but I need some help, and I'll go from there. Now, I'll be doing some assigning once I get back to the house this evening. It'll be a quick turnaround for tomorrow. We've got a bunch of middle school games uncovered tomorrow right now. We've got one umpire on some of them. If you'd like me to put them on self-assigned, I could do that, and y'all can fill them up, or you can continue to look at it and send me where you want to go. I'm trying to keep it as close to the house as I can. As I said in the email earlier this morning, guys, gas is going to continue to go up. I don't see any break in it, and the people I talk with, that it's going to continue to go, sky high, what we're not used to. So that's why I'm trying to keep you close to the house the best I can. Sometimes you're going to have to get on the road, and it may be an hour drive. But I hope you understand, because I'll make it up to you in the long run. Down the road, I'll put you in a game for 3 or 4 games, in close proximity of your house or your work. Once in a while, I may have to ask you to go to Richmond County or Pinecrest or South Columbus. I know that's a long way, but work with me and we'll make this work. Like I said, we've got an Eastern final, or we've been mentioned to have an Eastern final, and I'd like to have some guys that have worked a decent amount of games and got the reps in to go work. But like I said, I need your help. Other than that, that's about all I got to say. We'll continue to work hard, provide for our schools. If you do have a DQ or ejection, I will throw this out there. This is coming from the state as well as the conferences. Guys, you got to get that warning in as quick as you can before you DQ/eject anybody. They want a verbal warning to that coach, player, or whatever before you eject or DQ. So make sure we get that. If it's a player and you can get the coach involved, try your best to get him involved real quick. And some things you just have to go ahead and take care of. But if you get the coach involved, let them know real quick and let them handle it. That has been asked to me in a couple of conferences. Not saying we're doing something wrong, just we need to, adhere to what they're trying to ask us to do. Because when these kids get ejected or DQ'd, they have to take that sportsmanship course. And it also is a red flag on the school. Which if you know what anything in the High School Athletic Association, so many ejections in any given sport knocks them out of the playoffs. So I'm not telling you to not DQ or eject. I'm just telling you, let's try to get the warnings in before we do that. And some of you on here, I've talked to you about that. I don't totally agree with giving warnings. Sometimes you just got to go. Sometimes you got to be DQ'd or ejected. But do the best we can. And once again, I've been asked by one conference, actually in Fayetteville, they want to get the head coach involved as quick as we can. Let him handle the little Johnny and try to keep him in the ball game. So, but we're all human. We all have a hot button, and we just got to do what the state and what the conferences would ask us to do. But remember, we do work for them. We're the ones entrusted to run the game and do what we have to. And it's bad that we have to educate them in that way. Lastly, you read this morning on the comments too, said, don't coach the players. Don't coach them. Don't show them how to hold a baseball. Don't tell them how to slide. Don't tell anything like that. My best advice to you is try not to even talk to them beyond how you doing, hello, and beyond that. Next, when you go to pregame conference, you saw that in there today. We had some hiccups already about time limits. I don't know any JV games that are being played alone having a time limit. Now, I proposed a 2-hour time limit on all JV games, but that ain't going to flush. Secondly, make sure at the pregame meeting, if you're playing a varsity or JV varsity doubleheader, make sure you ask those guys and clarify, all right, what we're doing. Is it 90 minutes, no innings started after 90 minutes, or drop dead, or what are we doing? Most of them are playing, we're going to finish that inning and move forward. So, also the conference with East Bladen, West, and I think South Columbus, that conference there, Fairmont and them, guys, their varsity game is scheduled to start at 6:30. So I think some of them are playing JV games at 4:30. By 6:15, I've been told, now I've got to get some more clarification on their president from this, and that's Matt Hunt at St. Paul's. We're going to try to finish up in what I've been told, an hour and a half. If they want the varsity games to start at 6:30. Don't get in argument with the coaches or anything. Just call and let me know. You can go out in the car right then if they're not ready to play and let me know what's going on, and I'll get up with AD. I think Alan Banks and we've spoken about a situation the other night, and I called the AD person and told him what was going on, and he apologized that shouldn't have happened. The coach was giving all the misinformation, so we'll go from there on that one. I continue to get good reports from us. I like what you're doing. Guys, we just got to keep doing it, keep beating the bushes. I have called Chapel Hill and got some guys eligible. If you failed the test or didn't take the test or would like to call, I mean, we can pull some strings or get a waiver, not pull the strings, but I can request a waiver to get you where you can call. And of course, we got plenty of private school, middle school stuff. That said, I'm gonna open up questions, Q&A real quick with me. If anybody's got anything, and then we'll open it up, because we need to get on arbiter pay and get that straight with John on this thing. Okay. Are any questions, John? Anything in the queue there?
No, not yet. No, I don't have anything in the chat other than what we're going to talk about on the arbiter anyway.
Okay.
Hey, I have a question.
Okay.
It was about about Monday night against E. Smith.
Yeah.
Did you straighten out the arbiter for that?
I can see it in our arbiter. I've called them and straightened it out. I'll follow up with them tomorrow, but Friday I can see it. And I did all the resets on there. But I'll take care of that one. Are they paying check or arbiter pay?
No, arbiter. He said he wanted to be that night, but he said he couldn't, for some reason he couldn't see us in the arbiter or something. Me and Mike Previtt.
Yeah, I got it wrote down over here. I got it in my notes. So I'll follow up on that one tomorrow. But Friday, we were on there with him, and he didn't say he couldn't see anything. So
Okay.
Keith,
I'll get it straight tomorrow. Which also brings up a good point, guys. E. Smith, you're probably going to run out of baseballs. All I can tell you is do the best you can. Also, I believe, who had St. Paul's in Westover the other day? Westover conceded, they threw the towel in about the second or third inning. So you may have that in some games. But make sure you're both coaches agree and y'all know what's going on. And if they decide to stop, then we'll stop. That's up to them. Last year, if you went to Union a couple of times, I think they played one game a whole 7 innings.
they played one game that was 2/3 of the inning.
One game they played.
E. Smith did that Monday.
Okay, see. Personally, I don't see them finishing out the year. I don't know what these teams will do. They want the kids to play, and we're trying to put them out there to play. But I don't know. So, all right, that answer
John
that
Mayor's
question.
got a question for you, Mike.
Hey, Mike, so tomorrow I'm supposed to go to South Columbus and it's 7 o'clock, but it's 6:30 for the varsity game, 4:30 and 6:30
Is it where is it?
at South Columbus.
South Columbus is not in that SAC-7 conference that you just said, Mike.
Right. Okay, I don't know. They've changed so many times. I don't know who's in
So
what.
the conference that you were talking about, the SAC-7, is St. Paul's, Fairmont, Red Springs, West Bladen, East Bladen, Clinton, and Midway.
Okay, that's the one that started at 6:30.
Mike, you want me to look up South Columbus real quick for John?
Russell, I was on the phone with him Friday. They're staying at 7 o'clock.
Okay,
We didn't move their game Friday night. That's what we canceled the JV game.
Okay.
Keith Atkinson
I've got
had
it.
a question.
All right, Keith.
I hit it by mistake. I hit it by mistake. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Yeah. Keep driving. All right.
I did. John,
Mr. Parnell, Jonathan Carter, I do have I have something.
Okay.
I just so everybody, Jonathan Carter, new to the team, but in the event that you ever need me to move from either base to plate, I need to know the morning of, like before 7 in the morning, because I may be on my motorcycle because of gases. It's kind of difficult for me to have all of my gear. I have a Suburban, I have a motorcycle, so obviously I'm going to try to utilize the motorcycle when I'm working bases. So if you need me to do plate, I need to know a little bit ahead of time so I can go ahead and drive my Suburban, sir.
All right, I'm going to saddle my horses back up. Guys, if you do get an assignment, a JV varsity doubleheader, and that's good, I'm glad, John, I'm glad to have him back in the fold. If you do get a JV varsity doubleheader and it's got you on to play both games, I've left that's between you and your partner. Y'all decide what you want to do.
Hey, Mike, the question's been asked. Do the home plate and field umpires need to match jackets between the old style and the new MLB style jacket?
I would like for you to, but I've seen some games already that ain't matched.
Are you saying color, as long as the color matches?
Let's just say let's go through this season, only the color, make sure the color matches. So, 2023, we're going to the black. So, Yeah, as long as you got the same color, let's just go with that jacket. And I ain't gonna just don't get peculiar on the jacket. Is that fair enough?
I don't have any other questions.
All right, if you do, I'll be on the sidelines here. And now you're up, right?
Yes, sir. All right, guys, on the screen right now is my arbiter. And so a couple of the three things I was asked to cover, or two things I was asked to cover, and the one thing in the chat. To answer when you click on arbiter, you come into your main page. You got to make sure that this arrow up here, let me get back on the screen, the arrow where it has SSOABB up here at the top under your name, you've got to make sure that it is on Mike Parnell's, on his group. Sorry, guys, I'm looking at another screen trying to do this. So you got to make sure it's on Mike Parnell's group. If you're not, then it is going to, it will not let you do anything on it. Okay? So, as far as seeing the master schedule. So if you click on it and get on Mike's group, your home page comes up. To see the master schedule, you're going to click on schedule. Then you'll have three tabs that will appear under it. You will click on master schedule. Now, you can do this two ways. You could come in here and choose the date. For example, if I'm looking for tomorrow, I can choose the date. Hit go. It's going to show me all of the games that he has for tomorrow. You might have to hit page 2. There might be so many you got to go to 2. All right, the other way, let me back out. The other way, you click on master schedule and you scroll down until you see the schedule you want. So if I'm trying to go to this week, you just click on the number 311. That's this Friday. And you can see where all the games are at. Any questions on the master schedule? Need to check your oh, here's a question for you, Mike. Is the master schedule SSOA only, or is it ACU also?
Not ACUA. We don't have columns. Them guys down there umpire baseball.
So they don't have their master schedule to see.
The only master schedule is SSOA.
Okay, so that might be, if for those of you who are asking, I don't have a master schedule, that might be for the ACUA umpires. You don't have access to it. Any other questions on the master schedule?
What's the question?
Go ahead and ask your question. Sorry it didn't come through the first time. All right, I'm gonna continue. If you need to ask that question, just come back in. Alan Stewart, go ahead.
So you can't pull this up on the Arbiter app?
No, you cannot pull it up from the app.
Okay.
You have to be on the computer. Is that what you were trying today, Alan?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Okay, because I was sitting in front of a computer and I was seeing yours. So I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't know you were on the. I didn't know you were on the phone. Okay.
All right. The next thing I've been asked to remind everybody is about your blocks. When you go to your block on your calendar, you can do a full day or a partial day. All right. To do a partial day block, you're going to hit block part day. All right. Then up here at the top, in the square where it says time range, you're going to choose the times that you want to partially block. You're not available. For example, tomorrow from 8 to 3:30, I am not available. So I would put 8 to 3:30 in my time zone, and then I would click on tomorrow's date, which is the 7th, and it has put a partial block on my games, on my availability. You also have the ability to come over here where it says date range. You can put a range of dates, select your days that you want it to do it, and it will put a partial block for every day in the system for you during those 2 dates. Any question on partial blocks? All right, the final thing to to go over, as Mike said before, is most of our schools use Arbiter Pay. You need to go up on the top tab. It's got main schedule. Then you're going to click on payments. Once you click on payments, you're going to need to add an Arbiter account if you don't have one. All right. There will be a plus button, and you will need to hit it. This will create your Arbiter account. Any questions on Arbiter Pay?
You got to have a checking account or a savings account or something for it to go to.
Yep, and you can put the link bank account, the plus mark I'm showing you on the right here on the screen. That's where you can add a bank account.
And they will send you a check or a credit card. It's a credit card.
Yes.
They will take money out of your check.
And remember,
They will
guys,
charge you for that.
we said last week, if you click these 3 little dots, or you click on the account, and it will show you who has paid you and who has not.
You ain't been paid in 10 days, 10 working days. Send me a text, send me an email.
So if I click the
Never
dots,
happened.
it shows you who paid me. So as Mike was saying, if you don't get paid for 10 days is when he needs you to notify him.
Like I said earlier, if you send me a text, put your first and last name in there.
And then if you click on edit account, guys, under notifications, if you click update, if you have transfer from others, that would be the school. Transfer to others would be your bank account. It will send you a notification every time that happens. So if a school sends you money, within about 2 hours, the Arbiter will send you an email saying you have a transfer has occurred. Mike, that's all I got to cover. I don't have any questions in the queue.
All right, good job. All right.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, hey, Mike. But you take care of Billy Christian, right? The private schools, right?
Yeah, private schools I pay. They pay me, and then I write you a check.
Okay.
And like I said, I've already, all the private school schedules, I've already sent them an invoice. So that money, we're not going to do it and prolong it like we did last year. And what will happen if they don't play a game, if it rained out something, then I'll just reimburse them the game fee. But I just told them we couldn't go through what we went through last year, waiting to the end of the season. But yeah, I pay all private schools. All right, should be the DH rule.
It's on the screen ready for making.
See there?
That's what I'm trying to find out.
I saw him get on the call earlier.
Yeah, he was on.
You want me to call him, Mike?
He's on.
He should be on. Can you tell if he's on a computer or phone?
He's on his computer. I see him. I just don't hear you. And you're not muted. So it tells me your microphone ain't working.
Rough road. All right, read me the first screen. I'll go ahead.
All right. Hey, Macon, if you click on the three dots and go to settings, it'll select your microphone. All right, first slide. Let me get off of Macon.
Can you hear me?
I just heard you.
Yes, I can hear you now.
There we go. That's all right. All right. That's right. Like Michael was saying before, we're umpires. We have to adjust to stuff like that, right? Okay. So like I was saying, good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. And I'm going to do my absolute best with this high school DH rule because, to be honest with you, I think 99% of people don't understand it. So I'm going to try not to trip and fumble as I go through it as well. And hopefully it'll be clear as mud when we get done with it, right? So I think something that's really important.
Anthony Maynard could help. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, Anthony is going to have to be my fact checker if I get something wrong. So anyway, and yeah, if there's something that I say that's incorrect interpretation wise with this, feel free to argue with me about it, and we'll get it right. Okay. So first and foremost, I think we can all agree on this. When it comes to a DH, make sure, and this is just something that's going to be preventative and is very prudent, whenever you accept the lineup cards from the home manager and the visiting manager, make sure if they are utilizing a DH or not, okay? So if they give you a straight 9-player lineup like you can see on the left side of the slide, ensure, double check with that coach, hey, John, are you going to use the DH or is it going to be straight 9? Straight 9. Okay, no problem. He has now forfeited his right to use a DH for the remainder of the game. And hopefully, if you're lucky, you'll get both managers that give you the straight 9 lineup on both sides. Okay? If it is listed as a straight 9, double check with the coach. Make sure that he does, in fact, want to use a straight 9. Okay? The traditional 10-player lineup, as McAvoy has listed here on the slide as well, is not the same thing, for lack of a better phrase, as a player DH 9-player lineup. Okay, and that just sounds really ugly, but it's something that we have to deal with this new DH rule. Okay, even in both of those scenarios as well, make sure that you are double checking with the coach to ensure you're using the DH in this slot for this batter, et cetera, okay? So making sure that you have all of that administrative stuff, again, for lack of a better term, completed at the plate meeting is going to save you a headache later in the game if something were to occur administrative-wise, okay? So I'm going to have to read this to you because this is the first time I've seen this as well, so I do apologize. So a designated hitter selected prior to the start of the game, and that's what you want to do at your plate meeting again, all right? The coach will forfeit his right to use a DH if it is not selected or declared at the beginning of the game, so at the plate meeting, okay? So again, double check, make sure, yes, you want to use one, no, you don't want to use one, all right? That's, again, going to save you headaches later in the game, okay? So for the traditional DH lineup only, if a pinch hitter or pinch runner for the DH is used, that player becomes the new designated hitter. That's pretty simple, okay? So, for example, if I'm the designated hitter, I get a base hit, I get on first base, and my coach thinks that I'm slow, hey, I want to bring in player ABC. Player ABC now becomes my new designated hitter, okay? Also, the designated hitter in a traditional designated hitter lineup is going to be locked into that particular slot, okay? So you can't juggle the position of the DH in the batting order. Again, that's why it's really important to double check that at the beginning of the game, prior to the game at your plate meeting, okay? So here's where we get a little hairy, I guess. The player who was listed as a designated hitter initially may re-enter as the designated hitter under the re-entry rule, okay? So we'll use my same scenario. I step up to the plate, get a nice base hit through the middle. Coach wants to bring in a pinch runner for me, okay? That pinch runner is now the new designated hitter. But since I still have re-entry status as a starting player in the lineup as a DH, I can be re-entered into the starting lineup as a DH since I still have re-entry status, okay? A DH and the player for whom he is batting are locked into the batting order. So that's what I just said. That DH spot cannot be moved in the lineup to different places. So it is locked into a specific slot. So if I was the DH hitting in the 5 spot, the DH, as long as it remains intact for the duration of the game, has to be in the 5 spot. Okay? For example. No multiple substitutions may be made that will alter the batting rotation. So again, DH is locked into whatever spot it was listed whenever you confirm that at the plate meeting. Okay? Any questions on anything that I just said? Good. So I take that as 2 things. Either 1, you're really confused, or number 2, I'm doing that good of a job. Maybe it's the latter. Okay? So again, let's remember that this traditional 10-player lineup with your DH is not the same thing as your 9-player DH lineup, okay? So obviously, one reason they're not equal, you have 10 players in one lineup, you have 9 players in the other, okay? So in your traditional 10-player lineup, the designated hitter can be the designated hitter for any position, all right? The pitcher, second baseman, right fielder, whatever. Okay, the DH can be the DH for anyone. Okay. Additionally, in the 9-player DH player lineup, the DH can also be the DH for anyone. So it is similar in that respect. Okay. All right, here's where we run into another difference here. All right. In the 10-player lineup, if the starting traditional DH is removed offensively, the DH continues. Okay, so like we talked about, if a substitute wants to be entered into the game as the DH, then the DH would continue. It would not be terminated. That one's pretty simple. Okay, in the player DH non-player lineup, if the starting player / DH is removed offensively, then the DH is terminated. Okay, so I really don't know how to explain that more. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. So the person who is listed as the starting player / DH, if that individual is removed offensively, the DH is terminated in this particular scenario. Okay, back to our 10-player lineup. All right, if the starting traditional designated hitter is moved to a defensive position. So if your DH enters the game on defense, then the DH is terminated. That's pretty simple. All right. Everybody should know that one. No problems on that one. All right. In the non-player lineup with the DH, if the starting player in DH is moved to another defensive position, then the DH continues. Okay. I think that's pretty simple as well. All right. Everybody good so far? Very good. Okay. Back to our 10-player lineup. The defensive player for whom, whoever the DH is, participates offensively, the DH is terminated. That one's pretty simple as well. No problems on that one. Okay. In your 9-player lineup, the DH player for whom whoever is participating offensively, it does not apply. Okay. So in this case, if the defensive player for whom is being DH for participates offensively, this does not apply. Not really sure what Greg is trying to say on that one. Anybody, John, do you have any context on that one?
I have no clue because I'm reading this the first time with you.
Anthony Maynard, can you help out on that one? Anthony Maynard,
any context on that book?
Just because he's playing defense.
No, I'm not sure what he was saying. I'm not sure what he was saying either.
like Steve just said, he's playing defense.
He's already playing defense.
Okay, so you're saying that the DH who is also playing defense, this is not, okay, I understand now. Okay, I understand.
Yeah,
so the
he can do both.
DH is going to be playing defense as well in this particular lineup, so it doesn't apply. Steve, right on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The example would be a DH, the DH pitcher.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
It's about like our pitcher DH.
Okay, I got you. All right. In our 10-player lineup, if the starting traditional designated hitter is removed defensively, then the designated hitter continues. That's pretty simple as well. That does not affect your designated hitter status whatsoever. Okay. Now, in this new 9-player lineup, if the starting player / DH, the person who's designated as the starting player DH, is removed defensively, then the DH is going to continue. All right. So that starting player can be removed defensively, but maintain his designated hitter status. Okay. And this is where it gets really weird. So your 9-player lineup then becomes a 10-player lineup because that player is serving dual purposes. So let's say I'm the DH and the player, right? Let's say that I'm playing first base. All right. If I'm taken out of the game defensively, I can still be the DH. Okay. And then our 9-player lineup will then turn into a 10-player lineup.
The key
and
part,
as a result of this is why I hate high school.
the key part of that is they have to
okay?
they have to announce that at the meeting that they have a first base DH, they have a pitcher DH.
Right. Based on what we're talking about here, make sure again that you're doubly sure what the coach is trying to do with his DH. Is this a traditional DH or is this going to be a player DH 9-player lineup? So make sure you double check that, because you would certainly hate to have some type of administrative hiccup when it comes to this designated here that could cause a mess. Okay, so ask those questions at the plate meeting. If you're not sure, don't worry about it, because they probably don't know either. So you just ensure what you have. Okay. Any questions on anything we just covered?
I'll just piggyback. Let me piggyback on what Macon just said. So in my situation on last week, the home team coach says I have a DH in the 7th spot, and I look at his, and it's the traditional DH. The other coach says I also have a DH in the 7th spot or whatever, and I look at his. I was like, oh, your DH is also playing first base. And I said, this rule went in 2 years ago, and this is the first time I've had it. But he knew exactly what he was doing. And like Macon just explained, that they did take the first base, they did take him out of the game at some point, but he remained as the DH. With that said, when a coach makes those changes, you're going to have to make sure you're writing all this stuff down. And you're going to have to go tell the opposing coach what they just did. Because if you don't, 2 innings later, they're going to come and say, hey, this player, blah, 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 and you're just going to have a mess. So like Macon said, just make sure the administrative stuff, not only during the pregame, but if you have that situation come up where he removes that DH on offense or defense, that you let the opposing coach know.
And this guy that you're talking about, this first baseman, he has re-entry rights, right?
That is correct. So in my situation, when the DH, when he come out of the game, he brought a pitcher in, and the pitcher went to first base. And I went to him, I said, so this sub is going in for this sub. He said, no, I've moved, but I've taken my first baseman out. And I said, okay, let's walk through this. You took this player out, yes. You put this player in, yes. You put this player in, yes. So technically, when the pitcher went in the game, the sub that went in to pitch, he was listed on my lineup card. He was now being DH for by the kid that was DHing. Does that make sense? He was in the game,
Yeah.
He was not hitting.
Right. Yes, correct. That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, now I'm going to ask a question. I apologize if it's not the smartest one. I'm not 100% clear on all this either. If I am listed as the player DH and I'm a first baseman, okay, and the DH, if I am removed from the game defensively, right, and the lineup then grows to a 10-player lineup, am I allowed to re-enter the game on defense and it shrink back to a 9-player lineup?
You can. So you still have a re-entry. You can re-enter as a DH.
But you would have to re-enter. You'd have to re-enter for the player that came in for you.
Okay. So I guess what I'm asking is, can I play defense?
Go ahead,
You can
Megan.
go from a 9 to a 10
Okay.
to a 9.
You can do that.
Yes.
So to
Yeah.
ask your question, Macon, you can go, when he went out, he can come back in as a DH. I mean, he can come back in and play the field. He can come back
All
first
the
base.
re-entry.
9 to a 10. Okay, I got you. All right, no problems there. Like Anthony was saying, and this goes, even aside from DH stuff and whatever, if you have a change in the game in high school baseball, nobody's putting it up on the scoreboard. Typically, people are not announcing it. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Make sure that whenever you have a change, regardless of what that change is, it's just common courtesy to let the opposing coach know what you have. Okay? If a coach from Jack Britt comes up to me and says, Macon, I have a new pitcher. He's number so-and-so for number so-and-so. Okay, coach, thank you so much. I write this change down. Now I'm going to the opposing coach, and I'm going to say, hey, coach so-and-so, there's a new pitcher, number so-and-so for so-and-so. Okay? So it's just a common courtesy to do that. And it's going, again, that's very prudent to do that to ensure that the opposing book is in line with what you have on your scorecard or your lineup card, because you certainly won't want to have that group of dads sitting right next to the dugout, or that group of mamas right there at the dugout again. Well, he's batting out of order. We didn't know, and all this stuff. Just avoids all of that. All right, so make sure that whatever change you have, but especially with these types of crazy changes, make sure you are communicating that with the opposing coach, because again, you don't want to have to deal with batting out of order, illegal substitutions, and all that garbage, as complicated as this is already. Okay. So just as a refresher here, the starting designated hitter, again, may be any one of the starting defensive players. Okay. So you can be a defensive player in addition to being the DH. Okay. So an example number one, you will see that in the fourth batting slot, we have number 44, Daniels. He's going to be our designated hitter in addition to being our first baseman. Okay, so I would look at the coach, and if it's Anthony, I'm going to say, Anthony, you've got number 44, Daniels. He's going to be your DH and your first baseman in the fourth spot, correct? And he's going to say yes. All right, I'm going to make sure I get verbal confirmation on that, and we'll make sure that other coach understands that as well. Okay. Example number two. All right. In the fourth spot, we have number 44, Daniels, as the DH and the pitcher. And I'm going to ask Coach Maynard that as well. Hey, you have number 44, Daniels, as your designated hitter, in addition to being your pitcher in the fourth spot, correct? Yes. I'm looking at the other coach. You got that too? Yes. All right. All good. All right. So everybody knows we're on the same sheet of music, and there shouldn't be any administrative issues at that particular point, as long as they're on the same page. Okay. All right, so the starting defensive player, for example here, the player DH holds two separate positions. He is a defensive player, pitcher all the way through right fielder, F1 through F9, in addition to being our designated hitter. Okay, so play defense and be the designated hitter. A bit counterintuitive, but that's what this rule is after all. Okay.
Does this mean that a designated hitter can actually hit twice within a nine-man lineup? I'm a little confused here.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. No. There can't be any. A player can obviously not hit twice in the game.
That's what I thought.
Don't let the two separate positions. Don't equate that to two different batting slots. Okay. So for example, in this one, Joe, number 44, Daniels, is the designated hitter in addition to being the pitcher in one batting slot. Okay, so he is in the fourth spot in the batting lineup, but he does have two different, he has a defensive position and an offensive position, but he's only batting one time in the fourth spot.
Okay, thank you.
Is that okay, Joe?
Yes, it is.
All right, I hope that cleared that up for you.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Yes, sir, no problem. All right, any other questions of what we got going on so far? Okay.
All right, you get the basics. That's good.
All right. What else we have on this slide here, John? Okay, so here's our visual again, example number one of what a player, DH, non-player lineup card might look like. And again, just double check. Daniels, number 44, is our DH and our first baseman, hit in the fourth spot, correct? Yes. All right. That's what one might look like on a lineup card. And there's example number 2. All right, example number 2. All right, it also may look like this. They might have a different format. Okay, now this is the one where you really, really have to be on top of it. All right, so you're going through your lineup card, you're going down each position or each slot in the lineup. You see Daniels as your DH, and you get to the bottom, and it also has Daniels listed as the first baseman. Okay, so what I would do on this lineup card is I would put a little asterisk next to my number 4 spot to ensure that I knew that Daniels was the DH and the first baseman. Okay, so make sure that you understand that even though, you know, he's down there in that 10 spot down there, that he's, going to be hitting in the 4th spot on example number 2. Okay, so just understand that that is what one may look like as well. Okay, next slide. Let's walk through how the 9-player DH lineup may change. Okay. Don't have a lot of context on this one.
Well, they cannot have a courtesy runner.
Do you want me to help you, Macon, since I have the other side of it?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so the 4 things that can happen in a 9-player lineup for the DH. You can terminate the DH, take the DH out of the game, and put them straight in and get rid of the DH completely. You could have a defensive substitution, an offensive substitution, or a courtesy runner. Now, the courtesy runner, it basically is a pinch runner. You're burning a substitution for it.
And that question has already been brought up one time. We had a coach trying to use a courtesy run. That was actually on the test too.
So, he goes into a little bit more detail about the courtesy runner a little later.
Okay, so our first bite of the elephant here is going to be how the player and DH role is terminated, or how it's ended. All right, so number 1, a substitute or former substitute for the defensive role subsequently participates in an offensive role. Okay? So a substitute or former sub for the defensive role subsequently participates in an offensive role. That would terminate your player DH for the remainder of the game. Okay? And you would also want to, just to be prudent, be preventive, I would also let the coach know, if he does that, coach, your DH, your player DH is now terminated. All right, so everybody's on the same page. Also, let your opposing coach know that player DH is terminated. Okay?
So that would be the example of I'm the DH and Macon's the pitcher, and I'm hitting for Macon, who is pitching. They decide to take Macon out of the game and bring in someone else, and they put Macon at first base. They would kill the DH at that point.
Okay. All right.
No. I think in this 9-player, I think this 9-player lineup, if Macon is the DH and Macon is playing first base, and they put a substitute in on defense for Macon, and then Macon re-enters, we're still good.
Yes.
But Macon comes up the bat, and they hit for him when he comes up the bat. Macon cannot re-enter. He can only re-enter. It can only re-enter once. He can't re-enter in a defensive position and an offensive position. I think that's what this is saying.
Okay. Yeah, that's perfect. Right on the money there. Okay. Number 2, the starting defensive player in DH is substituted for either as a hitter or a runner. So, for example, the starting defensive player in DH is removed from the offensive role. So the starting player in DH, for example, Daniels, like we showed on those other lineup cards, is the only player who is allowed to be the designated hitter. Okay. All right, so whoever the starting player in DH is listed in the lineup, all right, if that particular player is removed from the offensive role, then the player DH is terminated. Anthony, John, yes?
That is correct.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
And then lastly.
Wait, hold on a minute.
Go ahead.
Let's talk about that again. So you're saying that if the starting DH, okay, is removed, that he cannot be re-entered back in as the DH?
Yes, if he can be re-entered as the DH, a hit.
Right.
But he cannot be re-entered as a DH to hit if he's been re-entered on the defensive end. Likewise, if he's been re-entered on the defensive end, he cannot be re-entered as a hitter.
Right, he can only be re-entered one time for either the DH or the defensive player, whichever one he was removed for. So, but he can be, the DH can be substituted for like any other position and then re-entered if that's the only time he's re-entered.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
That weren't how I was taking you as saying that earlier, or on that other earlier side.
Jeff Bledsoe has a question.
If well, not there, but he cannot go nowhere. If he comes back in, he has to stay the DH. He can't go nowhere else in here, right?
He has to. Yes, once the player is locked in at once the lineup is submitted. You can only play. You can only re-enter in the slot that you were originally at.
Yeah. Okay.
Jay, you got a question?
So we allow courtesy runners for pitcher catcher. So if we have a pitcher DH, catcher DH, they're not allowed a courtesy runner. That's some.
The way I read Jay's not Jay. Sorry, I'm looking at you, Jay. The way I read Greg's notes, and someone else can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is my understanding from reading the slides, is if they are in the role of pitcher DH, they cannot, if they're sharing that title, they cannot have a courtesy runner.
That is correct.
The simplest way to look at it, in a simple mind I have, if you're batting as a DH, you're not entitled to a courtesy runner, no matter what position you're playing.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
The way I look at it is the DH is a different position than the pitcher. You just happen to be playing two different positions.
Like John said, you're going to burn a substitute if you put him in there. And that has already caused some issues across the state. We've already had that. Like I said, it was a test question too, so it's been going on.
David Leonard has a question.
Don't let them have it. All right.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
So in that DH, in that 10-player rotation, so you can't use a courtesy runner if the DH in that 10-man rotation is batting for the pitcher. So you can't use a courtesy runner for the pitcher. That what y'all saying?
Yeah, that's correct.
So, because David,
you're the pitcher DH. If anytime you got DH tagged to it, and I could be totally off the ball, but anytime like we just heard, anytime you got DH tagged to you, you cannot have a courtesy runner.
Because when you're on the offensive side of the ball, you're the DH,
correct,
not the pitcher. You are the DH. When you're on the mound, you're the pitcher. So
it's like Chuck just said. If you're a pitcher DH or got a position tagged to you, no, you cannot have a courtesy run.
Okay, so he's got to run for himself, or that's going to be a substitution. Okay.
Correct.
All right.
And then he can re-enter. I mean, he can re-enter after that.
Once.
Yeah.
Alan Stewart has a question.
So if he's the pitcher DH and we courtesy run for him, can he come back to pitch?
Yes, but he'd have to re-enter.
Yeah.
But he can re-enter back to pitch.
He could re-enter, and that courtesy runner would be dead.
Okay.
Yeah. No, just need to do away with this rule and all DHs.
Hey now,
I
DH is a
agree with
great
that on this
position.
non-player lineup.
Hey, Mike,
Yeah.
this is Keith. Rule 314 is very explanatory on the DH rule and where it locks in. And anytime in the DH rule, you can't have a courtesy run at all.
Correct.
I think the important thing that everybody's trying to explain here, like John said, whenever the team is offensive, all right, whenever they have offensive status, if you're the DH, all right, just take away all this player DH stuff. In a regular game, you only allow courtesy runners for pitchers and catchers, okay? So if you have a player who's just designated as a DH in a traditional DH role, you don't give that player a courtesy runner anyway, okay? So it doesn't really matter whether it's a 9-player lineup or a 10-player lineup. As long as that particular player has DH tagged to their name, they do not get courtesy runners, okay? So don't let a coach try and screw you with that, saying like, well, he's listed as the pitcher and he's the DH. Well, my pitcher's supposed to get, a courtesy runner. Well, not in this case because he's your designated hitter, and courtesy runners by rule are not allowed, for designated hitters. That's all you have to say. All right? Everybody good with that? Okay. All right.
We need to get the mechanic.
Yeah, I think so too. Look, I do apologize.
You got any folks?
I do apologize for not being, I guess, more knowledgeable of this subject, but I purposely try not to know this because it's so dang confusing. All right, but again, I think at the end of the day, the moral of this whole story is you need to really familiarize yourself with this, because look at all the conversation we've just been having in this meeting that we've been on so far. So, there's probably some people who don't feel very comfortable with it. Some might feel very comfortable with it. If that's great. If so, familiarize yourself with this. Really importantly, to make sure you don't have any administrative issues, double check again at the plate meeting. I can't stress it enough. Double check at your plate meeting to ensure what the coach wants. Does he have a 9-player DH lineup, or does he have a traditional designated hitter lineup? Make sure you check that with the coaches. Confer with the opposing coach to make sure he's on the same page with that. And then anytime you get a change, especially with all this garbage right here, make sure you're communicating that with the opposing coach. Okay? And save you a headache.
And because I know, Mike, we're about out of time, but I can give you the quick synopsis of the rest of the slides. I've made the slides available in the chat. But think of it, you need to know the DH, the player DH, whoever that number is for the DH, and know who they are DHing for. They can't, the DH and that player they are DHing for cannot serve on the defense at the same time. They cannot bat at the same time. So just know those numbers. That's what the slides keep telling you as you go on. The DH is an offensive position. If there's something on the defensive side, it does not pertain to the offensive position of DH. So if they are a pitcher DH, they are a DH at the plate. If they're a catcher DH, they are a DH at the plate.
Case closed.
I was a DH in college. This is my favorite rule of all time.
Yeah. All right.
If you Google the 2020 NFHS rule interpretations, and there are plenty of examples on this stuff in 2020. So by 2024, we'll have it on pat.
And then they'll change the rule.
I like they're doing block below the waist in football now.
Don't even get me started on that. All right, mechanics.
Okay. A couple of things that Mike wanted me to hit on here, mechanically wise, and I don't have all my slides and all that good stuff. We're just going to talk about this just for a brief few minutes because I know we're running out of time, like John said. A common theme that we've heard about in some games, and actually some games that I've gone and watched as well this past week in my area of the state. Thing that some umpires are having a difficult time with is communicating properly on rotations, and especially with fly ball coverage. And I think some people are still a little unsure as to what fly ball coverage should look like. Okay. Honestly, the easiest way to screw up fly ball coverage when there's no runners on or when you have runners on is not to communicate. All right. So communication makes your coverage a lot easier. Okay, a whole lot easier. All right. And there's no such thing as too much communication. So I actually went and watched the game on Monday in the Wilson area, and I'll give you the play that happened. There were runners on first and second. There were less than 2 outs. The ball was hit the right field. Okay, our plate umpire came up the first base foul line to take responsibility for the catch no catch, since it was close to being a fair foul. Okay, which means that our base umpire in the middle is going to assume responsibility for plays at first, plays at second, and plays at third base. Okay, with both runners tagging. All right. In this particular situation, the only thing that was really quote unquote wrong with what the plate umpire did is he did not communicate to his base umpire that he was taking responsibility for the fly ball or catch no catch in the fair foul. So what happened is you had both umpires ruling on the catch no catch, and the possibility of third base being uncovered, right, since that is a rotation in that particular situation. Well, that was possible. It was possible that third base wasn't going to get covered. Now, our base umpire did a good job of recognizing what was happening without any communication and covered his partner. So the way to fix that whole situation there to keep anything from happening was simply to communicate. Okay? Look, whenever you're going to cover a base, whether it's just a regular rotation, whatever, right? Let your partner know where you're going. So you should be giving pre-pitch signals, all right? Which way you're going when the ball is hit. And then when you're doing that, make sure you verbalize that to your partner, okay? So if I'm working with Anthony and I'm going to cover third base, I'm going to yell at Anthony, Anthony, I'm at third if he comes. Anthony, I'm at third if he tags, okay? Then whenever I turn around when the play is over and I'm going back home, guess what I'm going to say? Anthony, I'm going home. And if he doesn't hear me, I'm going to say, Anthony, I'm going home. I'm going to make sure that Anthony hears me so he knows exactly where I'm going to be. Another form of communication also is important to ensure that you are visually checking your partners as well, okay? So when you're the base umpire and your plate umpire is rotating to third base, make sure that you give a quick glance over your shoulder to ensure that your partner, even though you hear him yelling or she yelling, make sure you're checking over your shoulder to make sure that your partner has not, tripped over the line or something like that, okay? So verbally communicate and certainly visually communicate. Now, I'm not saying this is from anybody in either one of these associations, but I've heard some crap before from umpires saying, as a plate umpire, well, you don't need to visually check to make sure I'm rotating. That's insulting because you're not trusting me going to third base. That's garbage, okay? That's garbage. As the base umpire, you visually checking is not insulting your umpire to tell them where to go. That's just making sure that the base is, in fact, going to be covered. That, something hasn't happened, that the umpire's shoe hasn't fallen apart, they haven't tripped and fallen or something like that, okay? So verbalize it as your play umpire, and also as the base umpire, visually check your partner whenever you hear your partner verbalizing, okay? That's very, very important. All right, so just as a refresher on outfield fly ball coverage, when you have no runners on base, okay, and this has kind of been a hot topic for whatever reason, because it's not debatable, all right, and it's just the way you work it. So with no runners on base, okay, your base umpire is your quarterback. All right, so your base umpire is obviously going to be behind first base, in foul territory, no runners on base. All right, your base umpire is the quarterback. As the plate umpire, all you're going to do is based off of what your base umpire tells you you're going to do, okay? So the coverage for your base umpire with no runners on, you have the center fielder straight back, straight in, and anything to the right field foul line if the ball is considered to be a trouble ball. If it is a routine fly ball hit to the outfield, a can of corn, and it's not a possible fair foul, then you should, as the base umpire, move into the infield, and your plate umpire is going to take responsibility to catch no catch, and the base umpire will have responsibility for the run. Okay? Now, if again, like I've said this in clinics before, if there's even a chance that it's a possible fair foul, your base umpire needs to be on the right field foul line to rule on the fair foul. Remember our hierarchy of calls: fair foul, catch, no catch, and then everything else. Okay? Any questions on that? That's a no runners on base. All right, so you have, again, the center fielder straight back, straight in, and anything over to the right field foul line if it is trouble. Trouble balls are considered possible home runs, diving catches, fielders converging or moving toward each other, or possible catches, like beneath the waist. Okay? Now, as the plate umpire, something that all associations have to be better at, plate umpires have to get the heck from behind home plate and out of the dirt circle. Okay? So, get out in front of home plate. Get out of the dirt circle. Move in the direction of the baseball. All right? That's really, really important. Get out in front of home plate, out of the dirt circle, and that's going to give your base umpire a chance to, read the ball a little bit longer if he needs to, or she needs to. Okay? Any questions on that when no runners on base? All right. Now, when you have runners on base, regardless of whether you're in B or in C as the base umpire, you have what we call, the V or the U or the fan, whatever. All right, whatever you want to call it. So you're going to have the right fielder straight back, straight in, and anything over towards center field, and your left fielder straight back, straight in, and anything over to center field. All right, so creating our V, if you will. Okay, so if you extend like the letter V from the pitcher's rubber straight out to the right fielder and the left fielder, that's your fly ball coverage. Now, what happens when you have one of those fly balls that, you're kind of looking at each other like, who should take that one? Somebody just needs to step up, right? If it's not going to be a fair foul and I'm the base umpire and I know for sure it's not going to be a fair foul, I might even yell at my plate umpire, hey, I got the ball. I got the ball. So that now my plate umpire knows that, he has no responsibility for the catch and no catch, okay? Your plate umpire is going to have anything that's even in the vicinity of being a fair foul, okay? If you think that it's threatening that foul line in right field or it's threatening the foul line down the left field line, plate umpire step up and take responsibility for that, okay? Take responsibility for that. Even close to being a fair foul, call off your base umpire. Hey, I got the ball. I got the ball, all right? Make sure you communicate that. And again, there's no way you can over-communicate. There's no such thing as over-communication in umpire. I'd rather you talk way too much than not enough. If you don't talk enough, that's when you get into trouble and you might have a base uncovered or somebody not ruling on a fly ball that they should be ruling on, okay? So over-communicate, even though there's no such thing, and make sure that we're up to speed on our fly ball coverage, all right? Chief, anything else you want me to cover on that?
That's it. Also, mechanics thing is, guys, if you catch it above the waist, you really don't have to give an out signal. Anything below the waist, we need an out signal or a safe signal for no catch. Don't waste your energy. Save it. That was good, though.
Yeah, if everybody knows it's a catch, no reason to give a mechanic. I mean, now, if there's any doubt whatsoever, give a mechanic. But if everybody in the yard knows that it's a catch, don't even worry about giving an out mechanic, okay? And the last thing I'll say, just for my own peace of mind, catch, no catch supersedes seeing runners tagging. Always revert back to my hierarchy of calls. Fair foul is more important than anything. Then catch, no catch. Then everything else. That includes base runners tagging, okay? Stay with catches. There's nothing worse than seeing the ball hit the glove, take your eyes off the ball, and the ball's on the ground. You don't know how it got there, okay? Catch, no catch greatly supersedes runners tagging up, okay? It irritates me when I ask somebody about a catch, no catch in the outfield, and they say, I was watching the runner tag. Why? That's not nearly as important as a catch, no catch, all right? So always stay with your catch, no catch before you worry about runners tagging up. It's just a bit of a downfall of two-umpire system, okay? That was for my own peace of mind. Anything else?
All right. Good job. Guys, I've been texting back and forth to speak with middle schools. if you find yourself with no partner, that means you're working a one person. Now it's up to you to get the plate. I would recommend going behind the mound. And you say, well, how about fair foul? You just have to do the best you can do. But we're in a crunch. And like I said, we may have to do what we're having to do. And we're not the only one. Just talk some guys up in the eastern part of the state. Matter of fact, we're making it. They're using one-man mechanic for middle school. So hopefully we don't have to do that. But I appreciate the guys presenting tonight. I appreciate you getting on the call. I'm sure John's going to tell you if you called in, make sure you let him know that you did. And like I said, I'll be making some assignments shortly. Like they've always told us, keep your equipment with you, keep it close. So, any questions, any comments? Yeah.
Mike, I know it was mentioned last week, but can you just mention again when it is you want us to go back to B position with a runner on third?
We never go to B with a runner on third.
Runner on third.
Okay.
You're always in the C position. You're on third.
You're always on the third base side, yeah. First and third, you can be on the first base side. Bases loaded, you're on the third base side.
I thought last week, and here again, I could have heard wrong, but I thought last week something was mentioned about when there's a runner on third that you wanted us back in the B position at certain situations. Did I dream that or something?
You said first.
That didn't come from my mechanics. I've never done that.
I'll take that one. Very simple. All right, the only time, here's the easiest way to remember it. The only time you're ever going to be in the B position on the first base side, the only time you'll ever be in B is when there's a runner on first base only or when there are runners on first and third. Any other time you have runners on base, aside from those two scenarios right there, you are always in C. All the time. All right? Runner on first or runners on first and third, you're in B. Any other time you have runners on base, you're in C.
Well, that's what I've always done, but I'm clear I must have dreamed it then.
We'll stop having bad dreams then, please.
We're having them nightmares. All right, any other questions?
Mike, this is Greg Hill. On the side, I'm good to go. Sign the game, so do I need to get with you offline?
You going in and out on me. Say it one more time.
This is Greg Hill. I'm a new umpire. I haven't signed any games. And then, do I need to get on offline with you, call you later, or?
Are you on the arbiter?
Yes, I am.
No, I'll check it when the SSOA arbiter account has got, I'm not making excuses, it's got so much stuff on it that people ranked at different levels and everything. I've got to get in there and take the rankings off of it.
Okay, well,
I'll look at it. I'll look at it in a few minutes and see what it is when I get off this and get on the computer.
Yeah, I'm available.
Okay. We'll be ready to work tomorrow then.
Okay.